more perspective now. We're joined in Singapore by John Bradley. He's an author. He's just published Saudi Arabia Exposed: Inside a Kingdom in Crisis. And John, you are one of the very, very few journalists given access to travel freely around Saudi Arabia, researching your book. You see King Abdullah now the new leader of Saudi Arabia. The analysis suggests that it's going to be steady as she goes. There's going to be no change in policy. Do you think that is true?
Well, they've had 10 years to prepare for this moment. King Fahd suffered a stroke in 1995, and Crown Prince Abdullah has been the de facto leader since then. People see it as a positive thing that things are going to carry on pretty much as they have done for the last 10 years. In fact, this, if it is the case, is a very negative thing. There are real social problems and economic problems in Saudi Arabia that desperately need addressing. Unemployment is about 35%. Some 60% of the population is under the age of 21. You have slums developing on the outskirts of cities, and what you've had for the past 10 years is stagnation from the top. No real initiatives to try and deal with any of these problems. Now, this is a moment everyone has been waiting for. We've always heard from the Saudi royal family and their apologists that Crown Prince Abdullah is a reformer, but because he's the Crown Prince and not the King, he can't implement the kind of reforms he really wanted to. Now he has the chance to prove what kind of man he is. And he could start, for example, by, as his first decree as King, releasing the 3 reformers who met him personally a few years ago, who have now been sentenced to up to 9 years in prison, merely for calling for a constitutional monarchy.
John, do you think that this is the very survival now of the House of Saud, that King Abdullah has to be more of a reformer? Can he afford to adopt the line that the ruling family has taken?
He cannot. Time is not on their side. I mean, time is certainly not on his side. He could be anything between the age of 79 and 82. He himself is a short-term fix anyway. The royal family has to recognise that although it's now flush with oil money as a result of the price of a barrel of oil being at an all-time high, they're projecting a budget surplus, whereas a few years ago they were projecting a massive budget deficit. The chronic underlying problem in Saudi Arabia is caused by mismanagement, autocracy, paternalism, nepotism, corruption. These are the things that need to be addressed.
Which, as you say, has been basically day-to-day operations have been run for the past 10 years, so therefore it suggests that nothing is going to change.
Well, the argument was that he is a half-brother of King Fahd, whereas the Interior Minister, Prince Naif, the Defence Minister, Prince Sultan, the Riyadh Governor, Prince Salman, are all full brothers of the King, and they're all notoriously corrupt. Crown Prince Abdullah, unlike those, is a genuinely pious man. He cares about the people. He visits slums. The argument has been that he has tried his best, but he's always been thwarted because he wasn't actually king. He was the de facto leader. As I say, now is an opportunity for him to show the world what he's really made of. And the trouble is that if he really is as hopeless as the last 10 years might indicate he is, then long-term, short-term, everyone can be happy because things continue as they are, but long-term, we're in for very serious trouble in Saudi Arabia.
All right, could one quick fix or one popular move, if you like, for the new king to be, say, to move away from the very strong ties it has with Washington, for example?
Well, unfortunately, with Washington, the only thing you can say about it is that everything has changed and yet everything remains the same. 9/11 obviously was a huge jolt to that historic US-Saudi alliance, but the two need one another. The last thing Washington needs is serious instability in Saudi Arabia with the chaos in Iraq, and Saudi Arabia itself needs America to guarantee its external security. So the problem with Saudi Arabia, there's no quick fixes. It doesn't need quick fixes. It needs serious policy adaptations by a ruling family that gradually needs to give up power. And there are no signs, unfortunately, that that's going to happen in the very near future.
All right, John, thank you very much for your insights. John Bradley, their author, recently published Saudi Arabia Exposed: Inside a Kingdom